This is the Selmer Jazz Tribute, Selmer's newest metal mouthpiece for tenor in like 50 years. And I'm super excited to show it to you. So if you're like me, you might be thinking, Jazz Tribute, what is this a tribute to? Well, if it's like a lot of modern mouthpieces, maybe it's a modern recreation of a vintage mouthpiece, like the metal Selmer Soloist or the Selmer Classic. But I don't think so. It doesn't have the same chamber and has a lot of different qualities to it. So I don't think it's that. Rather, I think this is a tribute to jazz in general. A lot of the famous jazz players that we know and love, all the way back into the 20s and 30s, Coleman Hawkins, Ben Webster. It's kind of got this, for me, a medium dark tone, and I can brighten it up. There's a lot that I can do to it, but when I first started playing it, it sat really well in that category, and that's what I really like about this. Not a lot of mouthpieces are trying that. You see on the logo as well, when it says Jazz Tribute, it's written in this hand-written style font. And I believe it's the same font that you see on the Jazz Flow. Reading about this, it seems to be inspired by, the real book or jazz style writing. It's kind of that handwritten font with that line. A lot of Selmer's newer pieces will have a straight line with the logo. So this line's a little bit handwritten too. And I think it really works. So if you look at that and you look at the logo that's been stamped, it's very tactile. And then it's blackened. That just looks so cool. Especially in reflections where you get like the dark shadows and the gold highlights. That black logo just looks so good. And so I think this was a really classy way to do it. The Shank is kind of a unique design. It's a little different than the Van Doren. It reminded me a little bit of that. But, it's just a unique taper. And it's got this slant side here. And I think we'll see some other shapes of this setup that emulate that as well. But that just looks really good. You see it also comes with a bite patch with that Selmer logo. Of course, no physical bite patch in the mouthpiece, just a patch that you can put on it. So this is made of brass that's been CNC'd, and then it's been plated finally in gold. It probably has an underplating as well. You see it's polished to a nice shine. On the table, you can see some lines going this way, which shows that it's probably machine-faced. Plays pretty well for me. It's got 7-star stamped here on the table as well. The side rails and tip rail look to be about the same width, and they're pretty straight all throughout. It's got this nice big window there. I wouldn't say the tip rail is too thick or anything. It's quite nice. The baffle here, there's just like a touch of a rollover baffle, and then a pretty low baffle as it goes down. There's a little bit of a chamber there. I don't know if that's just the tooling. There's a little bit of something there, but it feels like the mouthpiece is just wide open. And the sidewalls here are also rounded. If you look on the inside, it's just a round, open mouthpiece. And there's actually a mouthpiece that this kind of reminds me of, at least design-wise. I get a little bit of the Tone Master vibes. So if we put these side by side, there's some similarities. The table's about the same length. The rails here are tapered. They get a little bit thinner. But both of these are pretty low profile baffles. and they're really wide open on the inside. So I would not say this is a Link replica, of course. You know, that's probably the second thought is after hearing it's not a soloist. Oh, well, is it a Link? I don't think it's a Link replica. There are some differences there, especially those rails. And the shape on the inside is just ever so slightly different. But I still feel like there's some tradition there. There's something you said about a wide open metal mouthpiece. And when I play these two, they don't sound anything alike. This one's got like this hiss buzz to it, so quite different there. So the Selmer Jazz Tribute comes after a lot of other great mouthpieces. We had recently the Jazz Flow. I tried this at NAMM, and I went and bought the 5 and the 7 version of this for alto. I think it's a great mouthpiece. I also recently got the Selmer Concept. I also think this is a great mouthpiece for classical. And so Selmer's doing some real great things with mouthpieces. They're like redesigning, kind of reinvigorating their line of mouthpieces. So I'm hopeful that we'll see more Selmer mouthpieces into the future. So this mouthpiece retails for about $5.99. At least that's the pre-production price that I heard. You might find it slightly different, but that sounds about right, $5.99. And when you get it, it comes in one of their new boxes. It's very similar to the Selmer Concept. I'm not a huge box guy. I probably should be, but, you know, take up a lot of room. In the box, you get like this bag, but also it comes with a ligature and cap. So this cap really doesn't do it for me. I mean, it's metal, and that's the main reason. I don't like a metal cap because for me, I might ding the tip of the mouthpiece. But it is kind of cool. It's got like this sloping feature that matches the mouthpiece. You can set it down, and it kind of stands there, but like, why would you do that? So, you know, I probably won't use that, but this right here, this is incredibly exciting. I don't know if there's a name for this yet, so why don't we call this the 404 Slant? So the original 404 is straight on the walls. It's silver plated, at least this one is. It's got the 2 screws, the Y shape, and it's just like a well-made ligature. For this one specifically, I've bent and shaped it to fit an Autolink ridge, and then it's stretched a little bit down here to get the height for an Autolink. So you can tell that is, you know, another thing that makes this mouthpiece different than an Autolink. It's a little bit different shaped. But if you compare that to the new 404 Slant, you see this one's a little bit wider, a little bit more rounded, but it's still like the basic design. It's got that slant. And in fact, I swapped the screws on these. They're the same screws, which means they also fit into a Mark VI. So we get another really cool ligature. So it is gold plated, and when I put that on the mouthpiece, it just like looks great. And you can see that slant matches that back slant design too. So the 404 Slant, I'm gonna coin that. Fits reeds pretty well. And speaking of reeds, I used a Boston Sax Shop Black Label 3, and I found that one worked really well. Just right out of the box, as soon as I started playing, I felt comfortable. So I went down low, went up high. We got the subtone, you can play loud. So that's what I would recommend for playing on this mouthpiece. The 3.5 did make it a little bit darker. I think you could break it in, or if you use more air, you could use it. But probably the 3 is my recommendation. I did try some synthetic reeds. I did the Leger Signature 3, and I think that's a good size for it, but it does make it a little bit more bright. And so I think the contrast of style with the little bit brighter reed, a little bit medium dark mouthpiece, it wasn't really doing it for me. And I do like Legers in other instances, so I think just in this case, I'd probably go with a cane reed. Make sure you subscribe to Sax Spy. I'll be talking about the Atlantic sax soon enough, among other things. You won't want to miss that review. So I just took this off the shelf. Here's a couple of the Selmer mouthpieces that I have. They're soloists. And yeah, they're basically all soloists. So I think the soloist is a great design. I actually really like this design. This one fits right in there. It's definitely not a soloist style or anything. It doesn't have that horseshoe chamber. It is kind of its own thing. There's a little bit of some Linkisms in there, but I wouldn't say it's a Link copy either. But it's got that medium dark tone. There's something subtle about it. So I just say it's tasteful and classic. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. If you want to support me in creating more long-form content, make sure you check out the courses below. We have Sax Repair for sax players. It's 140 videos on how to repair your own saxophone. For normal saxophonists like you and me, I'm not trying to be a repairman, but it's full of valuable knowledge on how to assess and fix your saxophone. There's even a full section on a COA, which is a clean oil adjust. You should do it every year, and that's alone going to save you, hundreds every year on each instrument. Also, check out Basics to Bebop. If you struggle with improvising and you're kind of more the logical thinker, less intuitive, like myself as well, you'll find this course very effective in helping you learn jazz vocabulary. So there's just one final test that I have for this mouthpiece to see if it's right, the smell test, for those of you that know.